Is it okay for protesters to break the law? Good morning.
Good morning. Well, what protesters are doing here is breaking the law to try to prevent something much worse being broken, which is our life support systems, the living planet that keeps us all alive.
So it is okay.
Without which we're nothing. It's the lesser of two evils.
But who's judging that it's the lesser of two evils?
I am.
Yes, those who are doing the protesting.
You've asked my opinion. I've given you my opinion.
But that's a dangerous way to police, isn't it? If those who break the law are excuse me one second, but just 1 second, George. And I will come back to you, George. But that means that, fortunately, I'm not. But if I am effectively starving and I can't put food on my family's table, it's okay for me to steal from Asda or Morrison's or Tesco because my family's starving is obviously greater. So, how would you have law and order in your world, George?
Sorry, that's your judgment that it's okay for you to steal?
Yes, because it's your judgment. It's okay for these.
I've not expressed an opinion on that at all.
No, but you're saying you can break the law if you think it's valid.
You break the law and the police can arrest you. That's how it works.
Yes.
This is a moral choice that people are taking. What I'm not saying is we abandon the law and say there should be no law. Mm-hmm. Extinction Rebellion protesters have been very clear about this in saying we are prepared to suffer the consequences of breaking the law, which is arrest and potentially prosecution. And our personal moral judgment, we think that the cost of that, which is going to be borne by us, by the people being arrested, is outweighed by the cost of not taking action, which means climate breakdown and environmental breakdown and a cataclysm beyond imagining.
But, George, you will be aware that senior police commentators, including Lord Stevens, has pointed to the fact that when all the personnel is brought into the city, the outlying areas of London, there will be a spike in crime. So people's garages will be broken into, cars will be nicked, whatever. Does it justify that as well?
Well, on these grounds, you would say that no protest should ever be held, because all protests are policed.
No.
The suffragettes were policed.
Yeah, but they didn't disrupt other people's lives, George.
The suffragettes did not disrupt other people's lives. Are you serious?
They didn't close down bridges and try to close down an airport.
They actually tried to burn down Parliament at one stage. Yeah. They went much further than these.
Okay, precisely.
But look,
then get to the politicians. How does stopping a family going on holiday help your cause?
No, the thing is that what Extinction Rebellion has done has to put front and centre the issues which should have been front and centre all along. The very reason we are having this discussion on your programme, and I'm grateful that we are,
not at all,
is because Extinction Rebellion has taken this action which has put the issues on the front page. And that is always going to require disruption. The disruptive, peaceful, civil disobedience has been fundamental to every successful political change in this country. We have democracy because of that. We have votes for women because of that. We have all the freedoms that you enjoy and I enjoy have come about as a result of disruptive civil protest. Now, of course, there are going to be costs, but those costs are tiny by comparison to the gains that can be made.
I don't know if you'd be thinking that if your house had been broken into, because there are no coppers in Croydon.
Well, have you any evidence
that
that's been taking place?
It's Lord Stevens, who used to run the Met, who said it.
And he says he
in
had
the past when he's had to when he's had to deploy in the past when he was commissioner large numbers of police to into the heart of London, obviously, and you can see it working out. The thieves out in Croydon or wherever think, well, hello, there's no coppers about. Let's go and nick from the local post office. You can now. No, there are no figures, but it's probably likely. And here's one figure for certain. How is your cause helped by smashing the windows at the Shell HQ?
Well, I don't know specifically who and where the windows were smashed, but let me tell you this. Shell is smashing the living planet. It is smashing our life support systems.
So, again, that justifies, not you, but your colleagues or your fellow protesters, whatever you want to call it, that justifies them taking a legal action and smashing the windows of a Shell building, does it?
No, I didn't say that. But I'm saying, let's put this in perspective. You're complaining about smashing of windows. Okay, I don't like smashing windows either, to be honest. That's my judgment. But I'm much more relaxed about the smashing of windows than I am about the destruction of the conditions that allow human life to continue. And this is what Shell is doing. In common with the other fossil fuel companies, they're actually destroying the habitable climate. And it's really hard to get your head around the scale of this, the enormity of what these people are doing. By comparison, smash windows, and incidentally, the suffragettes did plenty of that too, Nick. You might want to look into the history there. Smash windows, it might be regrettable, but it is absolutely minuscule in comparison to that.
In the wealth of material that I've read about this, I read that, and you'll know better than I, actually the UK is not doing badly as opposed to other countries. It has reduced its gases and its climate. So, in a sense, are you not preaching to, or are they not preaching to the converted?
We have unquestionably done a lot better in that respect, principally because of the switch away from coal, and that's been very positive. Unfortunately, it doesn't take us nearly to the point we need to be if we're going to prevent 1.5 degrees of global heating, 2 degrees, or indeed more than that, which is catastrophic levels of warming. And we have to go a lot further. And what Extinction Rebellion is saying, and what I'm saying, is that requires far more dedicated political action than we've seen so far.
When you look at some of the protesters, and there have been pictures of the debris that have been left behind as they've left or been evicted from Waterloo Bridge, what does that say to your campaign?
Yeah, well, certainly the pictures I've seen circulating have not been of Extinction Rebellion, the aftermath of Extinction Rebellion. They've been of a thing called 420. I'm not exactly sure what that was, but it's a separate thing. The Extinction Rebellion protesters turned up to the site of that gathering and cleared up that gathering's mess. They've done exactly the opposite to what you're saying. They've actually been tidying up after other people.
It was reported that you once wrote or said that the campaign is about to go straight to the heart of capitalism to overthrow it. Did you say those words?
Yes, it's not just reported. You can watch it on the Frankie Boyle programme from the week before last.
So you want capitalism overthrown and replaced with...
Well, this is a more complex question, and there's lots of very interesting examples of what we could do. Jeremy Lent's proposal for an ecological civilization, Kate Raworth's proposal for donut economics, a switch towards a system that I characterise as private sufficiency, public luxury. But there are two separate statements you can make. The first is capitalism is trashing the living planet. There's no question of that. It relies on perpetual growth, and you can't sustain perpetual growth on a finite planet without destroying our life support systems. The second is we need a new system with which to replace it. Now, I don't have a complete answer as to what the new system is, but I can state with confidence that the current system is causing disaster.
Although it's allowing us to have this conversation, and it's allowing your demonstrators using mobile phones and email and other else to mobilise, of course, for that level of rebellion.
I don't see any reason why another system which doesn't result in the trashing of the living planet couldn't also allow us to have mobile phones.
Well, how are people going to make money out of them, George? How are companies going to... I'm only going to run a mobile phone company if I can make some money out of it.
Well, maybe we don't do this through companies. Maybe we do this by another means.
Well, how are we going to pay for? How are we going to pay for the police officer?
I don't have an off-the-peg solution. You know, I don't like state communism. That's not my approach. I don't have an off-the-peg solution. But what I'm saying is, objectively and empirically, this system of ours that we call capitalism is driving us towards an unimaginable catastrophe, the loss of soil, the loss of biological abundance, the loss of a habitable climate. Now, you know, war, pestilence, famine, plague, all that sort of stuff is terrible, but it's nothing by comparison to what we're talking about here.
But why not protest in China and Russia, which I understand are far more...
actually, there might be some fairly good reasons for not protesting in China and Russia. Why
put the people of London through this?
Because the transformation has to happen everywhere. We can't just say.
But if it's London and if it's Russia, if
we just need a couple of countries to sort it out.
No, but if
all countries need to be involved in this.
But China and Russia won't heed what you're doing on Waterloo Bridge. When I say you, I mean your colleagues or friends or protesters. They won't heed what's going on. They don't care. This will have no impact with Russia.
So because we can't affect every single country, everywhere, all the time? We shouldn't do anything? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think you should possibly... Why don't target the Russian embassy? Make sure they can't go out for their lunch or whatever. Wouldn't that have a greater effect?
Why are you obsessed by Russia?
Because Russia... I understand that Russia and China are some of the key offenders. I understand. And they are not implementing...
As far as I know, Russia's average carbon footprint is smaller than ours.
All right, well, OK, my apologies, you're far greater than... But certainly China, why not target the Chinese embassy? Or the Brazilian embassy?
What, you want us to do everything? I mean, how many people do you think we've got?
What I don't want you to do is to disrupt ordinary people's lives. They've got a right to go to work, these folk.
Yeah, well, they've got a right to go to work, and people have also got a right to protest. Protest is one of our fundamental human rights. It's in the UN Charter of Human Rights.
Right.
Now, you and Lord Stevens might want to take away the right to protest.
No, not at all. Not at all. No, I want. I want to enforce the 1980s. No, I want to enforce the 1986 Public Order Act, which means you can't set up a kindergarten on Waterloo Bridge.
Shut down, and the 1986 Public Order Act, and the 1994 Criminal Justice Act shut down much legitimate protest. They've greatly restricted our civil rights and our freedom.
We're way late. Lastly, George,
these are illiberal pieces of legislation.
Lastly, in a sentence, George, I'm about to ask my listeners how they will remember the balmy, with an L, balmy days of this Easter holiday in London. What would you say?
Well, I'd say remember this as a time when things began to change, when people really began to wake up to the environmental crisis and the urgent need to respond to it.